mission for you. You should choose to accept it.
I have a way to solve this mystery.
Christina's testimony gets Ava acquitted. She'll never forgive herself.
Protecting your father mean more to you than protecting your sister's child.
I don't know if I can do this.
I'm calling the cops.
What a joke Rick Lansing always has been. That kid he's defending? Ridiculous. I can't even begin to understand why he's backing Ava, but knowing his track record, I guess it makes sense. It doesn't matter how this all shakes out. Ava had a chance to stop the whole mess when she found out what Valentin was doing with the meds. But no, she chose to make things even worse because of her jealousy over Natalia. The fall? Sure, it was an accident, but Ava's actions leading up to it? Absolutely reprehensible. She was downright cruel to a young, pregnant woman. If I were Ava, forget about being found innocent. I'd never be able to live with myself after that. I really liked Michael and Sasha together. I'm hoping they'll recast the role, though I do love Chad. Can you believe Cody didn't recognize Lulu after sitting with her in her hospital room with Dante? Honestly though, after 4 years in a coma and a major liver surgery, thanks to Sam, Lulu just gets up, rips out her pick line, and pulls the fire alarm. Then she grabs a tote bag from the nurse's station and casually walks out of the hospital, unnoticed by anyone. She's changing clothes on the side of the road, flags down a car, and just drives off. It's too ridiculous. Sasha's pregnant, and Michael is the father after their drunken one-night stand. And mark my words, Willow's about to end up pregnant too, probably by Drew, or better yet, she'll be carrying twins. Michael will father one, and Drew will father the other. Classic. Michael won't be around to see his kids grow up though. Chad Duell's leaving after 15 years on the show. Ava won't see prison though. She's going to get off scot-free because it was just an accident. Let's talk Christina. She's the one who's really at fault here. She went to Ava, stirred up all this drama, and made a mess of things. Ava didn't push her. Plus, Christina admitted she wanted to keep the baby. Who does that to their sister? Not cool. I'm not a Rick fan by any stretch, but I have to admit I kind of enjoyed the court scenes yesterday. I'm just hoping Ava walks, and Christina gets the help she needs. As for Lulu, no, not even remotely believable. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. Oh, this is going to be gold. Lucky finally facing off with Cyrus. Does he even have a clue who Cyrus is? I mean, this should be interesting. But let's be real, it'll probably take a week for anything to actually happen. But seriously, I'm still stuck on why Cyrus would hurt his own sister like that. I mean, I get that he's a villain and all, but family? You just don't do that. It's one thing to mess with strangers, but your own blood? What's his deal? And don't even get me started on these storylines. How did it take a year to get anywhere? And now all of a sudden, in a couple weeks, a woman in a coma just casually walks out of bed like it's no big deal. Are the writers high? This is a whole new level of absurdity. Honestly, I'd just like to see something happy for once. Can we get some feel-good moments instead of all this mess? Also, it's not Ava's fault. I can't wait for Christina to finally get knocked off that high pedestal that Alexis and Sunny have put her on. She's been living the high life for too long. Time for a reality check. Oh, where do I even start? So apparently everyone's forgotten that the moment Ava laid a hand on an 8.5-month pregnant woman, that's when everything went south. Ava became responsible for Christina. The fall, the bag trip, the window, all of that. So yeah, Ava Jerome is officially the cause and effect of everything that went down in that room. Now let's talk about Sasha and her pregnancy test after 2 weeks. Seriously, are the writers like 10 years old? And then there's Lulu, 3 years in a coma, just walks out of a facility with 0 rehab. No physical therapy at all. Can someone tell me how that's even remotely plausible? Oh, and Ava's giving the death stare to everyone in that courtroom, including her own lawyer and the jury. What is she trying to do? Intimidate them into a guilty verdict? Also, Cody, who supposedly saw Lulu in the hospital, doesn't recognize her? Really? And where's Laura? What's she doing? Marrying around while all this is happening? I just can't with any of this. I hate Rick and Ava. They've both done enough to ruin Christina's life because of their vendettas against her dad. Rick and Ava are no better than Jagger at this point. But this is so much worse, because Rick is now tearing into his own niece for Ava. Let that sink in. He's destroying her life all over again for that woman. After everything Christina's been through, she deserves a win. And I'll give Rick this, he's a damn good actor. People may not like his character, but he plays it so well. But Christina, she really needs to face the facts. If she hadn't gone to Ava's in the first place, she'd still have her baby. Ava didn't push her. She tripped, she fell, and that's on her. Ava's done plenty of awful things, but this is not the way to make her pay. Now, Lulu waking up from a multi-year coma and a liver transplant, and just casually walking out of a nursing home. Absolutely ridiculous. Rehab would take weeks, maybe months. Muscle atrophy doesn't magically disappear when you decide you're done being in a coma. But okay. And then, Christina. I just can't stand her. She's whiny, self-absorbed, and constantly playing the victim. She's lying under oath for goodness sake. I don't blame her for hating Ava, but her losing the baby? That's on her. She's so impulsive, never thinks things through, and in this case, her reckless actions ended up costing her the baby. This was her fault. So Sasha's pregnant. Shocker, it's Michael's baby, but with Chad leaving, I'm seriously wondering how they're going to keep this story going, especially if they're not recasting right now. Here's where I have a problem with Rick's defense. Everything's a risk if you really want to stretch it. Let's say Christina was on her way to see Ava, got hit by a car, and the baby died. Would Christina be blamed? Of course not. She couldn't have predicted that. But the issue here is that it was an accident, and Ava tried to cover it up. She's not exactly a model citizen herself, and the list of her wrongdoings is pretty long. She killed Connie. She messed with Morgan's meds, which led him to go manic, steal a car, and get blown up. And let's not forget she switched his meds to sugar pills, lied in court to screw over Spencer, and did all this to get her face fixed. The list just goes on. So while Christina's fall might have been an accident, Ava's hands are far from clean, and she always seems to get away with everything. It's time for her to face some consequences. And speaking of babies, here we go again. We barely see the kids we already have. Remember Bailey, Maxie's daughter? Yeah, what happened to her? Haven't seen her in forever. So why bring in another pregnancy storyline? Willow's probably next, and don't forget about Brooklyn. It's just becoming ridiculous. More boring, recycled storylines. This show's not what it used to be. Christina is the victim here. She almost died, and her baby did die. But sure, let's punish her because she went to plead with Ava after the FBI agent, and Ava tortured her while she was pregnant just to get to Sunny. She didn't deserve to be shoved into a window. And if Ava hadn't grabbed her arm and caused her to trip over the luggage, it never would have happened. Ava's just as responsible here, but she gets to waltz away scot-free again. It's getting old. Oh, for crying out loud. Lulu's out here walking around like she didn't just wake up from a years-long coma, and that miracle recovery is supposed to be believable. Please. I had a friend whose husband had a liver transplant, and let me tell you, he couldn't get out of bed for months, even with the best meds. I get that it's a soap opera, but this is way beyond fantasy. It's a joke. Sure, soaps ask us to suspend disbelief sometimes, but this Lulu storyline, it's ridiculous, even for a soap. Meanwhile, Rick was actually great today, so there's that at least. This whole thing is absurd. The writers always drag out these storylines, but this one, nothing about it makes sense. If Lulu just came out of a coma, she should be nowhere near this functional. And why on earth wouldn't she tell anyone what happened? Seriously, this is frustrating. Also, can someone explain why Cody sat with Lulu after her surgery, saw her face, and still didn't recognize her? How does that even work? Dante goes off for a break, and Cody's clueless. Come on, writers, get it together. On a slightly less ridiculous note, Cody and Lulu were adorable today. But like, Cody and Dante are tight, so crossing that line, not gonna happen. Oh, and surprise, Sasha's pregnant. Who didn't see that coming? I'm happy for her, but I really wish it was with Cody. Could have been a much more interesting twist. Why does Alexis keep downplaying Jason and twisting things to make her daughter look like the perfect angel? Sam was hardly the primary caretaker for most of Danny's life, and she certainly wasn't a non-factor. Jason was the one who was there for Danny, aside from the whole 3-year accident hiatus. But of course, let's ignore that, because why would we let facts get in the way of a good judgmental rant? It's getting old how they keep trashing Jason over things they don't approve of when, let's be real, none of them are exactly winning any Parent of the Year awards. Also, I gotta say, Alexa Havens is a perfect fit for Lulu. She's managed to capture the essence of both previous actresses, and at first, I wasn't sure about her, but now, I'm totally sold. Smart casting GH. And Drew? Oh, I really hope he leaves and just disappears. Jason's out here trying to keep the kids together, while Drew? He could care less, totally selfish. Oh, and just wait until Michael finds out that Drew told Jason that he and Scout would leave if Jason moved in. Old Drew's going to be so surprised when Michael and Jason find out about him and Willow's little affair. You just know it's going to be a disaster at Thanksgiving. I can already see it. Sasha's food getting dumped on the floor when Michael spills the beans about their secret. So much for doing what's right for Scout. Drew might want to get on board with actually being the good dad for once. The previews are showing Drew telling Jason that the minute Jason moves in, he and Scout are out. Guess it's all about Drew putting himself first, huh? Can't wait for that affair to blow up in his face. Lastly, James, he's my new favorite. That kid solves more cases than the entire PCPD combined. Brooklyn and Chase are deep in baby-making mode because, nothing says romance like trying to have a baby while everyone else is holding their breath. Meanwhile, Lois is practically jumping out of her skin, ready to become a grandmother. And Olivia? She's got it all figured out. Being a grandmother is the best. You get to say yes to everything. No one can argue with that logic. The trial of Christina versus Ava has wrapped up, and now everyone is just waiting to see how the chips fall. But really, it was so sweet of Natalia to take the blame for the whole accident with Christina. Talk about a stand-up move. And speaking of adorable, little James had no idea he was chatting with his godmother, Auntie Lulu. Kids, right? So innocent. Oh, and Spinelli and Maxie finally figured out that the woman Jason was talking to wasn't just some random person. It was Lulu. What a revelation. It only took how many episodes? But hey, better late than never. Then there's Lucky. His anger toward his uncle Cyrus and that guy at the aftercare building? Totally understandable. Cyrus has no business passing judgment on Lucky, especially considering everything Lucky's been through. Someone needs to take Cyrus down a peg, or two. On a positive note, though, Lulu and Rocco finally bumped into each other at the Q estate. That was nice, right? A little family reunion vibe. As for Brooklyn, I've got to wonder, why won't she take off some of the clothes she wears to bed? Is it a religious thing? I mean, if it's about staying faithful to her faith, kudos to her, but it's a mystery. Switching gears to Lulu and Gio's nighttime meeting, cut to the courtroom the next day, and we're basking in sunshine. A little continuity, maybe? Oh, and let's talk about the trial. Why didn't the DA bring up those photos? And why wasn't Ava cross-examined? Are they seriously just letting her get away with this? It's almost like they want her to walk free. Now, here's the theory I've been mulling over. and I think I've got it figured out. Remember when Dante and Cody were talking about their camp days and that big secret they kept? I always thought it had something to do with a girl, and now, with Gio coming into the picture, everything's starting to make sense. Gio's parents? A total fabrication. I'm betting that the girl Dante hooked up with at camp was none other than Brooklyn. And I think she had a baby, gave it to that couple they keep talking about, and bam, Gio ends up in Port Charles. That's why only Lois and Sunny know the full story, and why Brooklyn probably has no idea Gio is actually her son. Yeah, that's my theory. Lois definitely gets a little weird when anyone brings up Gio's parents, don't you think? What does everyone else think? I mean, it's a stretch, but it's the best explanation I've got. So Rick's brilliant argument is that Christina should have known. Ava was too dangerous to even talk to, as if it was common knowledge that trying to have a civil conversation with someone could end with you in a hospital bed. Right, and that's really going to help Ava's custody case, isn't it? If she can't even share a room with another adult without the potential for disaster, I'm sure that's exactly what the judge wants to hear. Let's just wait and see how Ava processes the fact that Rick's entire defense is basically throwing her under the bus. Honestly, I'm drowning in emotions from today's episode. First of all, Rick was completely out of line badgering Christina. I'm honestly glad Natalia lied, even though technically that's illegal. But hey, I'd rather see her lie than watch Rick try to explain in court how he got his hands on a private conversation. Oh, and if Cyrus gets reported to the police? Good luck explaining how he wormed his way back onto the visitor list, and how he has any right to speak for Lulu. There's a whole tangled mess with Brooklyn and Lois that's begging to be unraveled. Someone's got some splaining to do. The previews also show Drew telling Jason that the second Jason moves in, he and Scout are out. So much for putting Scout first, huh? Apparently, Drew's idea of being a good father involves clearing out the minute things get inconvenient. As for Gio, I'm almost positive she's Brooklyn's kid. The way she reacted to Chase's comment about being a mother for the first time, and Lois's weird reaction when talking to Dante's mom, it all adds up. And no, Gio has zero clue about any of this. As if I needed any more proof that the Who's Your Daddy drama is about to explode. And let's talk about Irene for a second. Nobody really wants to admit it, but the reason she didn't make it had less to do with the whole surrogate situation, and more to do with Christina's delusion that she was meant to raise the baby. Sure, it was her eggs or whatever, but the bottom line is that Irene wasn't cut out for this. She was meant for Molly, and that's how it should have stayed. But Christina? Oh, she royally screwed that one up. That girl is a hot mess. So turns out Gio is Brooklyn's son. Ava totally nailed it on the stand. She was genuine, honest, and didn't sugarcoat anything. Props to her. Meanwhile, Natalia straight up lied. She claimed she caused the accident with Christina, the one Rick found out about. And then Rick just ripped Christina apart, accusing her of caring more about protecting Sunny than her own baby. Alexis had to step in and tell him to chill. Now the big question, how is Michael going to take over Aurora? Chad's leaving, but there's no recast in sight. People are blaming Christina, who, let's be honest, I'm not exactly a fan of because of how she treated Molly and TJ. But let's pause and think. What is she running from? If the answer is Ava, well, there's your answer. I know people will spin it however they want, but it's pretty clear. And as for Dante getting back with Lulu, well, at least he'll still have a little piece of Sam in her, right? I'm not saying Ava's a saint, far from it. But it's the hypocrisy that gets me. The double standards on this show are unreal. Like, we've got Sunny, a guy literally sitting in court waiting for Ava to get punished, when he's the one who's murdered a federal agent and somehow escapes all consequences. Then you've got Dante, a cop, looking down on Ava for her supposed bad parenting, but thinks Sunny is the father of the year. That's why I'm all about rooting for Ava and Rick. The double standards are just too much to ignore. Oh, and that meet cute between Lulu and Cody? Super cute, honestly. Their banter was adorable. Maybe the reason he didn't recognize her right away was because she was hooked up to machines in a hospital bed, and he's got a lot on his plate, so his focus wasn't exactly sharp. It would be pretty wild if Lulu's coma wasn't just a random medical issue, but part of some long con orchestrated by Cyrus. Imagine him paying someone to keep her sedated for 4 years at that other facility. It's not totally out of the question, especially since he told Laura that he'd been visiting Lulu for some time. I mean, that would explain a lot, right? And speaking of logic, if Cody dropped Lulu off at Maxie's place, why did it never click for him that he knew the building? He's been there before, knows the area, and even attended an intervention at that exact location with Felicia and Maxie. So, was he just summing out, or is his memory shot? Something should have clicked. I mean, come on, Cody, small world, right? Also, maybe it's just me, but I'm still not clear on Cyrus's relationship with Lulu. He's her uncle, sure, but what's his angle? Is he trying to help her, or is there some deep-seated animosity at play? Why the sudden desire to move her to another facility? What's the deal there? As for the new Lulu, I was honestly skeptical at first. I loved the previous actresses who played her, and I didn't think anyone could measure up. But surprise, I actually really like the new Lulu. She's got something that works, and I'm here for it. I'd love to see a storyline with her and Cody. And oh, remember when Nina was in a coma for, like, 20 years and then just magically woke up one day? Yeah, it happens, apparently. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.